Hello and welcome to the No Hesitations podcast. We are your co-hosts.
Kristen Marvin with Solutions by Kristen.
And Nick Spinelli, that's me. We talk about all things leadership, successes, challenges, and every topic in between with the goal of helping you, yes, you, become a better leader. So join the conversation because there is no time like the present to listen in and level up. Kristen, bring us in. What do we have?
Yeah, today we are super excited to welcome Jeremy Wolf to the show. Jeremy is our first official guest.
Woo!
We recording on No Hesitations podcast. Super pumped and just thrilled that you're with us today. Jeremy, I was thinking about this today, thinking back a full, 6 to 8 months ago, a long time ago, how Jeremy and I first met, and we bonded over an event at University of Arizona. We were start talking about mental fitness. Obviously, that's my world, Jeremy's world. And then we started talking about food. And I can't remember how we got on the topic, but I was new to town and asking for some recommendations. And Jeremy lit up and immediately started launching a couple names at me, and then just said, "You know what? I'm gonna text you this laundry list that I have, that whenever anybody comes into town, my girlfriend and I have to take them, or fiance, have to take them to these places." Nice. And I'm still trying to eat my way through that list. I swear it was like 40 restaurants or something. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Tucson has just such a beautiful local food scene. I think 67% of our restaurants here are local. So anyway, anybody that knows me knows I'm a giant foodie. So I could talk about food and beverage all day long, but Jeremy made a great impression on me and is helping me stay happy and full, which is amazing. So thank you.
Of course. This is one of the best towns in the world to go eat, to go out.
Yeah.
We're a UNESCO food city. I don't know what that means, but I know it's a really big deal.
Yep. Tucson has been designated by UNESCO as a city of gastronomy. So we were the first city, and there's only two in the US, us and San Antonio. So it's a pretty big deal. And we celebrate it a lot. So we can do a segment on that too, because I sit on one of the committees for that. So
I used to live in San Antonio, and this place is better. So good for us.
Jeremy, I know you're a baseball guy, but what is your opinion on the Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs?
It's not good. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, in the early 2000s.
Oh, so just
Steve
a lifetime
Nash,
of
Rajah
disappointment
Bell,
then.
Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Leandro Barbosa.
I am so sorry. I mean, they were a great team. Nash, back-to-back MVPs, all of that, but no kidding, they were real heartbreakers then, those Spurs, yeah.
So growing up, it was dreadful. I went to college in San Antonio and Trinity University, and so the Spurs would practice there sometimes. But like the general manager and like the president would come and like teach a class for a day, and I got to meet the president, R.C. Buford, and we're talking. I'm like, I'm from Phoenix, and he goes, "Ooh, sorry to hear that." I was like, "Ooh, your fault."
So what I'm hearing is that you can get Victor Wembanyama on the show for us, because Wemby is definitely in our sights. I feel like he's got some experiences we'd love to unpack.
Only if you speak French.
Oh, I'll start working on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I love
Anyway.
it. Well, that's a beautiful segue. So Jeremy, for those of you that don't know, is a former professional and Olympic baseball player. He's dedicated now to mental health and well-being of athletes everywhere, which is super cool. He is the co-founder of Mindready, which is a sport psychology coaching and education company for athletes. So today we are super excited. Jeremy's going to share his story with us, talk a little bit about his why informing Mindready, talk about mental fitness and what that thing is. Everybody's been asking about it, and what role that really plays in the success of athletes. So Jeremy, just super excited again. Welcome to the show. So excited to have you. How's it going today anyway?
It's good. It's good. It's nice to be here. It's very nice to just have a conversation. The goal for me, we have a podcast on our end. It's called The Lab, and I love having these conversations with people and just like getting deep and just allowing to the conversation to take it where it may, but having them in person, there's a lot of value in just like sitting in a room with a microphone in front of you and just talking. And maybe one day, maybe next time I'm on, we'll do that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Would love it. Well, that's beautiful. Yeah, if you would start, share your story. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Oh my goodness. The whole story. Wow. It's funny. It's like I never thought I would have the tagline that you just gave me, from a professional Olympic baseball player. But like when I was growing up in Phoenix, you do whatever you can to like get to that furthest point and maxing out your athletic ability. And I certainly did that. And it was just like a pure devotion and dedication to like the craft of baseball. I was a left-handed hitter, played at Chaparral High School in Scottsdale and got to play 4 years at Trinity University. Never had a Division I offer, barely a look. And 4 years after, I played every single game in college except for two. It's because I forgot the signs and the coach was pissed. And which should have remembered the signs because I would have played every single game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of value in just being on the field. And that was like my first, when I look back on my career, I was very thankful that, I'm still paying student loans and all that, but it's just opened up just the world to me to have made that decision to go. Played, 4 years at Trinity University. We won a national championship. I was voted as National Player of the Year, like Regional Player of the Year, like had the accolades, like did the thing that I needed to do, and was really focused on, if you were to ask me, like, go back and do it again, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd be capable of doing it with what I know now. I was just so locked in, so into it. It was everything I cared about. It was focusing on my swing. It was practicing. It was everything. It was being with my teammates, and was fortunate enough to get drafted by the New York Mets in the 31st round as a 940th overall pick. Same pick as Kevin Kiermaier, if you're familiar, if you're a baseball fan. There's an opportunity for me to make the big leagues, but I knew very early on it was just a different sort of ball game, and my mental health just deteriorated. The stress of playing professional sports was something I wasn't able to handle. I wasn't, but I also wasn't prepared to handle it. And there was no education for me. There was no resource available to me. We had a mental skills coach on staff, but we didn't trust them because they got their paycheck in the same place that we did. So if we told them anything that could have been detrimental to our careers, we had to really think about what was valuable in that moment. We were scared. After my first year, I played fairly well. I went to spring training and Tim Tebow came in. And so it was that whole circus and, got to play for my favorite team growing up and was amazing. And about 3 months into the season, I slid wrong, hurt my back, got injured, herniated disc in my back, got released. Did my 20, had the surgery, but did the 20 weeks of physical therapy. And that was it. My baseball career was what I thought was over at the time. And I started a nonprofit at the time called More Than Baseball. And More Than Baseball's job was to provide resources to minor league baseball players that we didn't have. We were only paid $3,000 a year, depending on the level. If I was in the lower level, so I got paid about $3 an hour. But if you played full season or a little bit higher, it was about $6,000 to $8,000 at the time. Over the course of 4 years, we supported pretty much every minor league baseball player over the course of those 4 years, about 5,000. Raised about $2.5 million, and the whole goal of it was to form the minor league baseball union, which we did. We turned that support into votes, and over the last year and a half or so, we kind of solidified that, and it's now an official union. It's the largest union in professional sports, and I think in the world too. It's about 5,000 members strong underneath the Major League Baseball Players Association. After that, I was like, okay, what do I do next? And I wanted to take something from More Than Baseball and turn it into just a passion project again. I love like building and just figuring things out. And I took the mental health program and turned that into Mindready. And Mindready is designed to help athletes get the coaching and the sports psychology coaching and the mental health resources that they're not afforded at Division II or Division III or NAIA in junior college or small, professional sports teams. And Division I's like U of A, like will have something, but again, it's still not efficient enough from what I understand too. So there's value in what we do at all levels, coaching or team coaching or leadership coaching for their coaches, or the content, the podcast, conversations like this will open up just a thought. And we always end every conversation, like team conversation or one-on-one coaching with some of our coaches. We always end it with like, if you take one piece of this and you apply it in the next practice or game, it's worthwhile. And that's just the objective that we take every single day. And so in my baseball career, playing in college and in the pros, and fortunate enough to have helped Israel qualify for the Olympics, like that's kind of the approach I took, was just like, how can I just be a little bit better today? But if I had resources that are available now, more than just Mindready, but Mindready in general, like it would have benefited me, and it would have improved my performance, and at the very least my recovery too. So to be able to like share my experience, that's, I'm very fortunate to be in a position to do that. Not many people have the ability to like share their story, and so I'm grateful for like the platform to do that. And I hope somebody listening, whether coach, parent, athlete, just anybody, I think there's lessons to learn from others' experiences, and to be someone who can like share their perspective in that way is pretty important to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love what you said about being in the field and the importance of that. And obviously looking at your backdrop there, being on the field, and it feels like you're still on the field, right? You're still in it with the athletes right now, which is just awesome. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, love your experience. Obviously, congratulations on all your success, but what you've been able to turn it into is exciting, and kind of feels like you're just getting started in this next big chapter, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's like I like to, everything that I have done is because of sports, and I like to be able to like attribute, preparing for this, or preparing for a meeting or a sales call, or whatever it might be, you can bring back to like the things that you learned in sports. However much we play, I think sports just has an incredible impact. But there are pitfalls, certainly at the youth level, but also in college and the pros. There's just not enough resources. And so the most pivotal resource, I think, is mental health for athletes. We just make it affordable, and we make it easy, and we make it accessible. And it wouldn't be successful if we didn't have that perspective in mind at all times.
Yeah, you've mentioned the lack of resources and your desire to do something different and create those resources. Will you talk a little bit about what mental fitness is, and then speak a little bit more about those approaches that you just mentioned about affordability and accessibility, and really what your approach is at Mindready?
Yeah, it's funny, like, what is mental health? What is mental performance and mental fitness? And all of these terms, to me, we're not motivational coaching. It's not read a quote and feel better. It's work. It's preparing for scenarios. It's having the tools in your toolkit at your disposal to use. If I'm a baseball player, and I did this many times, if I strike out and swing through a pitch, or if I took a pitch I shouldn't have, I'm walking back to the dugout, and what am I doing? What is my trigger? What is the tool that I can use to move forward? I've never taught how to handle failure as an athlete growing up. I'm told to take a deep breath and move past it, but I don't know how. And I think the pressure you put on yourself to succeed is multiplied by the pressure that your teammates are putting on you. It's multiplied by the pressure that your coaches are putting on you, plus your parents. If the entire community, if that entire ecosystem has resources available to better understand, has the tools available to better react and nurture these experiences. But if the community itself is sound and has things at their disposal, they're going to benefit. And happiness will improve, communication will improve, teamwork will improve, winning will improve if you create an environment that is worthwhile. And that goes further past sports. If I am in a company, and I'm on a team in a company that just doesn't do a good job from top down, if there's no communication internally, if we don't respect others' time, others' skill sets, like just as with a baseball team or a soccer team or a basketball team, that team at work won't work. And so like we're able to take some of these ideas from every walk of life and apply it into things that for us create an opportunity to just create a better community, just create a better environment. What we do, what you can think of us as like outsourcing a sports psychology department. So I played at Trinity University. We didn't even have a strength coach when we won a national championship, let alone a mental performance coach. They still don't have one. So a qualified mental performance coach has a master's degree, has a CMPC, has all these different certifications, and they are very highly qualified individuals who deserve 60, 70, $80,000 a year. These teams and these organizations don't have the funds to do that because the funds are going elsewhere. They're going to coaches, they're going to the staff, they're going to field and uniforms and travel and whatever. And so Mindready is a more affordable way to provide these resources. The same coaches work with us. So for $15 per athlete per month, an organization can provide Mindready to the entire population. An athlete can come in and use us as much as they want to. We provide our team coaching curriculum to every single team through every single coach that wants us available to their team. This program, we worked with FC Tucson and Pima Community College here in town, and winning improves and communication improves and happiness improves. And we see that like time and time again. And in conversation and the mindfulness conversation, like session 3, someone will go, oh, I should talk to a coach about this, and has access to going to talking to a coach that's completely independent from the entire athletic department so that they can share what they're feeling and get the tools that they need to improve in that next day's practice or that next day's game. It's a very easy way to just kind of provide this as a resource that they don't currently have. And we're cutting the cost of providing a mental performance coach by half, maybe even more. So for us, it's a no-brainer to continue to pursue it.
That's awesome. It's incredible. I was reading your newsletter earlier on the one you wrote about Michael Jordan and how he prepares for his games and his growth mindset and how he really just embraces every challenge and turns it into an opportunity to learn and grow. And I think that what we're seeing in society and have been for a while is that we're not teaching kids how to fail, right? Everybody's getting their purple ribbon for participation. They don't understand what it's like when they fail. They don't know how to look at it as a challenge and a way to grow and learn. So love that you are taking that approach and that you are making such a tremendous impact across, so many different athletes. It's incredible.
The newsletter you read is from something I wanted to create as an outlet to like take all of these ideas and put them into practice. And I call it in practice because it's great to hear a story about Michael Jordan, but how can I apply these tools that Michael Jordan, his career can teach us? Like, what can I do? Because Michael Jordan said in an interview, well, I had to find a way to motivate myself. Well, what does that look like? Like, I am out of sports. I play soccer with friends, and I'm like a pickup team, but I'm not motivated to improve unless I can create this artificial motivation within myself to go to the gym that day or that week to prepare for a game or to rehab or to recover, whatever it might be. Michael Jordan did that for 20 years of his career. He knew he was the best and he won 6 championships in a row. And how did he motivate himself? How do we take these tools that people can teach us anywhere? I wrote one about, her name is Hannah. Her last name escapes me, but she was playing for Team New Zealand in the Women's World Cup this year. And she scored a goal. So I think it was the first goal in the tournament, but it's definitely the first goal for New Zealand. In New Zealand too, they were hosting. And I saw the emotion, it was so raw. And I saw there was like a moment in there. It was like the moment of relief, but it was like a moment of just pure bliss. And I searched for that as an athlete. You didn't have it much. And, we won conference tournaments and national championships and blah, 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 whatever. But like, she got to do it on the global stage. And how do we find that at practice? How do we find that feeling, in a game or, in the off season? Sports can teach us a lot of things, but I think we just have to find the right way to put it into context and really put it into practice for us.
Yeah, I love
Jeremy.
that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, thanks, Kristen. Jeremy, you didn't happen to see when the Denver Nuggets won the NBA title this last summer, did you?
No, so I only watch like Premier League soccer now because I'm like that now. I don't watch any basketball, football, baseball, hockey. I'm not an elitist. But
It's probably a healthy disconnection. Something you said resonated with me. This moment went viral right after the Nuggets won the title. Nikola Jokic, who's a two-time MVP and won his first ring this year, right? Everyone was really curious to see, in the media at least, everyone was really curious to see how Jokic would respond to them winning a ring, right? Like, he's very stoic in interviews. He typically doesn't show a lot of emotion, very even keel. They win the title, the championship parade's happening. At one point, his daughter's the one holding the trophy. He's not even standing there with the finals MVP trophy, right? And when he was asked for his comments, I'm paraphrasing, you can find this on YouTube or wherever if you really want to watch it. He was basically asked, like, damn, dude, you just won an NBA championship. How you feeling? And he was like, the job is done and I can go home now. And in his case, that's literal. He was talking about Serbia, right? And then he handed the trophy off to someone and literally walked off stage, and that was the end of it. And it was almost like what you had described, that moment of, and I'm not putting words in his mouth, that moment of relief, where I think he was genuinely happy, and he was also just like, oh, thank God, we're done. Like, I get to go home now.
I that like I wanted to be more like Jokic than LeBron. I don't know if that's a good comparison, but like he just does his job and he goes home. It's not flashy. It's not even fun to watch, but he is exceptional and top 5 basketball player in the world. But he builds in silence, and I think that's a really powerful way to like do those things. I don't know. I see a lot of motivational quotes, like I said earlier, like there's a lot of crap out there. And Jokic is like the prime example of like, just do your work and go home. And I love that. And I want to go to Serbia to see more of that.
Yeah.
We're not big sports fans these days, but we did watch the finals, and it was exciting to watch him because you were like, how does he keep his cool so like every game? And you were just like waiting for him to just do something, or like do something exciting or explode or whatever. And it was just like such control and just, it was just sheer performance. It was incredible. Yeah.
He's so cool.
Yeah.
Like I play even with soccer, even right now, I just have too much emotion, and he would just be here, just being.
He is
doing the job.
He is so even keel, and we don't have to spend too long in this, but that finals was so interesting in part because he had his opposite on the other side of the court in Jimmy Butler, right? And the reason I bring Butler up is because, yes, obviously there's the whole Himmy Butler thing and him just demolishing the Bucks in the first round, the fire that he plays with, the dog he's got in him, everything. And yet somehow Jimmy also has a life outside basketball. I don't know if you're familiar with his coffee company that he's getting online, but he has this whole entrepreneurial infrastructure that he's creating so that when he retires, very similar to Jokic, right? Someone had asked him a question. I think it was in the Eastern Conference Finals. They said, "What are you going to do to like prep for the next game?" And he was like, "I'm taking my daughter to see Spider-Man." He's like, "What are you doing?" And, the reporter was kind of taken aback by that. They were almost like not sure what to do with his response because it was so like, hey man, like I'm good. I got my life. Like you see one side of me when I'm out here, and there's this whole other side to me as a person that I don't bring on the court, and that's how I can do what I do every night. It's probably coming from a different place, but I just thought that was fascinating to have those two in a series together for all the reasons you just said.
Jimmy Butler like spends all of his time playing basketball and thinking about basketball and improving his craft. Whether we want to believe it or not, that's what he's doing. That's how you stay at that level, at that elite level. But like the time that he doesn't have playing basketball, like he's putting into a passion. And we have a coach that specializes in career transitioning. And he talks about the value of just having an outlet outside of sports. When I was playing for the Mets, they like anytime anybody had anything outside of playing for the Mets, thinking about anything outside of playing baseball, like it was refuted. And because of the Jimmy Butlers or because of LeBron, like professional athletes and athletes in general playing at elite levels, and I'll even include college in that elite level. I think 7% or 6% of high school athletes playing in college. I think less than 1% ever play professionally. You have a very small window of being an athlete, and you have a very small window to leverage that into something else. Your brother's leveraging that into a very successful coffee company, and he could, take his time and the money that he's earned and his talents to whatever industry if he had a passion for it. I'm happy for him that he's found that. And you know what? It's probably improved his basketball game, having that as an outlet. Just because he's not thinking about it 100% of the time. Might be thinking about basketball 99% of the time. And that 1% of the time allows him to relax. And when I was playing, I never had that. So I envy his freedom to do that.
Yeah, we actually talked about that on our burnout podcast episode and the importance of having a hobby. And every time when I was managing restaurants and leading teams, and a young manager would get into management, one of the first pieces of advice I would give them was make sure you have something outside of this, because if this is your entire world, you're never going to be able to turn it off. Everything is going to be so important. Every little problem is just going to be the end of the world. You have to have an outlet. You have to have a release. You have to have something that can just turn your mind off from the constant focus and the pressure of performing. It's so, so healthy and so important. So love that you brought that up for sure.
For anybody too. My fiance, she's in medical school, and she was like, what are my hobbies? Like, everybody has something outside of being in medical school or being a doctor. Like, what's my hobby? Well, like, she goes to F45, and that is not a hobby. It's a thing you do, but it's not a hobby. Like, a hobby is something where you can just zone out from anything and just focus on that thing. She found it. We press flowers and we put that into, little picture frames, and they're around the house and they're beautiful. But her hobby, she
plant presses.
She does plant presses. I observe the plant.
You said
presses. We do.
I did say that. But you're bringing me back to my grad school days. I got to learn how to use a plant press when I was living in Wyoming. The campus I was on in Grand Teton National Park, every year, the grad students would go out during the spring bloom, which is like, I don't know, like 4 hours in Wyoming. I'm exaggerating slightly. It's like a couple weeks. And we would go gather all the plants and we'd bring it back, we'd press them, and they were 30 years worth of presses. I don't know what the word for them would be, but you open up the huge filing cabinet and you could pull them out, and they were all so carefully organized. They were beautiful. Mine were never much good. I got some weeds, and I think I put them on a slide. I think hers are probably a little more appealing to look at, but it was fun.
It makes her happy. She spends time not thinking about school, but thinking about how she can improve like her designs. Like, I play guitar, and I golf, and I play soccer, and I have a garden.
Or acoustic.
And both. Yeah. Cool. And it keeps me away from working. I don't work on the weekends. I do not. I don't care about the grind, any of that stuff that people. That's just. Can I curse?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It's just bullshit when people say, "Oh, you need to spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to build your dream thing." No, you don't. You need to spend 9 to 5, and you need to go home, and you need to relax, and you need to spend time on the things that really matters, and that's like being happy. And a hobby, like Jimmy Butler's hobby, helps him do that.
Yeah, you've got to have those recovery days, right, for your mind, just like your body when you're working out. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm glad that you're not in the grind.
I'm a 3-day-a-week kind of guy.
That's amazing. Good for you. We need more of that in this country. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're workaholics. It's stressful. It's hard.
We are. Yeah. I've been in the restaurant business my whole life, friend. Yeah, I'm no stranger to the 70, 80-hour work week.
I couldn't imagine. And my fiance, she worked at a very popular restaurant in Phoenix, very busy, made a good living doing it. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of egos, and it's a lot of headaches. And I love being in an office and building things.
That's awesome.
Jeremy, along those lines, just to kind of help listeners envision a little bit more like what we're really talking about here with Mindready, I want to bring it back to something you were discussing earlier in the podcast. You mentioned that, I think it was at the Mets, right, that you had a sports psychologist on staff. And, very early on, you had mentioned like, yeah, like there were some concerns around going to this person who was on the team's payroll to voice things that you were dealing with as a professional, right? I'm curious, setting aside all of that for a moment, what were the sorts of things that you were really grappling with as an athlete when we think about mental health, right? And then how did that then inform what you eventually went on to build with Mindready? Basically, what were the gaps that you
Hmm.
found out, right? Where you said, "Oh, this is actually a need I have, and this other
Yeah.
person, they're not cutting it, and so now I need to go address this over here in this other space," you know?
When I was playing in college, I performed well. I played every game. I was a team leader. I was I did the things I needed to do to lead a college baseball team. But at the end of the day, I performed well on the field. And playing in the pros, you're with everybody else who's been like that. And I came from a small school, and everybody else came from big schools. And what I did in college doesn't matter about what I did in the pros. And it's a whole different ball game when you're at that high of a level. And then you get paid like shit. And then you aren't eating well because the food at the time, it's improved now because we have a union, but at the time the food was inedible. Travel was terrible. We'd sleep in locker rooms. We'd sleep in showers. Like
Oof.
all of the environment itself is not designed for like improvement and recovery and development. Like that's you suck it up and you just got to go do it. There were stuff along the way that we knew it could change just with a conversation, and just nobody had ever had that conversation before. But the things that I was going through was like, I felt like every single day I was going to be cut. And it wasn't well, I better perform well today, because it's going to motivate me to be great today. No, it was like every single movement was being watched. And if I struck out 4 times, I felt like they were going to take the jersey off my back before I even got in the locker room. And I played in fear for 2 seasons. And there's no way to play. Like, it's no way to play. And I'd have conversations with the mental performance coach, but it just wasn't, their style didn't match with my style. And what I wanted to talk about didn't really reflect. And they had opinions on things that I needed to do. And I didn't want their opinion. I needed someone to talk to. And I started to put those feelings into drugs and alcohol. I started to put those feelings into porn. I started to put those feelings into so many different things to try to move myself away from the actual thing that I was struggling with, is the fact that I couldn't focus on the field and that I couldn't keep myself in the game. I fell out of love with baseball while I was playing baseball because of the pressure that I put on myself. And I think the stress led to unhealthy habits, like physically. And I think ultimately, like, my back just gave out, and it was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because I probably was going to get released anyway. So I'd rather blame it on an injury than blame it on, poor performance. So those guys who are at the highest of high levels, like, they are going through the same thing, and I see it. But they can go past it physically, and I was never able to do that.
Wow, that was really powerful stuff. You brought up something really important that I'd love to touch on, which is the importance of having a coach and having somebody that you trust in your corner and that you have a strong relationship with, in order to be able to help you and to share and to work through some of the really tough stuff. What does that look like at Mindready? How do you build that relationship and pair athletes with a coach in the best way possible?
We start working with organizations. We only work with organizations. We don't allow people to come into Mindready as an individual. What the investors would say, B2C. We don't do that. We might eventually, but we don't, because we want to focus on the community at large first. We want people to hear about Mindready and the power of Mindready from their coach, from their parent, from their administrator, from whoever, because we've had that conversation with the level of decision makers that make the decisions for the rest of the teams. By doing that, we're creating legitimacy for what we have to do, because we not only have to sell what we do to the people who are going to bring Mindready in, we have to sell it to the coaches to ensure that this is something that can bring value to their teams, which by our data says that it does. And we have to then prove it to the athletes that this is something that can benefit them. We know when mental performance is available, athletes will improve in their recovery and their development and their performance. We allow for, at every level, both physically and online, them to have something that can improve their that like recovery aspect. How can I be off the field and thinking about some of this stuff? Because on the field, I'm naturally good at it, but things are going to happen, and how am I going to react to it? So we always kind of revert back to those pillars. We built a journal so that we can have something in their backpack that can help them on a daily basis, in the morning and at night. You know, what did I learn today? What am I grateful for? Just things that are proven, things that are easy to do and implement, but things that are proven that can benefit you as an individual away from sports. We do a team curriculum so that athletes can learn about this in a team setting, in a safe environment, where others are interacting either in person or like on individual Zooms with one of our coaches that's like from that sport and trained in the curriculum that we built for this specific thing. At the same time, their coach we're touching base with that coach, but also touching base in a way that's educating the coach on what the athletes are learning, but ways that are going to improve the well-being of that coach and that environment that he's building. Can we do it with someone who doesn't believe in it? No. Like we can only lead a horse to water, but there are coaches out there that want to improve and want tools for their teams. Mm-hmm. And we provide that in a team setting, in a leadership setting. And then the athletes individually, they can go on the portal, they can listen to meditation, they can listen to content that we've developed, podcast interviews that can be helpful on specific topics. Stories from athletes that are just can help them just kind of contextualize some of these things. But then they're prompted to work with a coach one-on-one, and that coach, they match with that coach by answering a series of questions that we've asked the coach, and we match them directly using our algorithm to match them with the athlete. And then an athlete can find that coach's Calendly and start working with them in as soon as 24 hours. So for us, we have the ability to teach in a group setting, teach in an individual setting, teach in at all times. And that's just like little touch points to create an experience that wasn't there without Mindready. And there are so many amazing mental performance coaches, mental health coaches that work in sports that do this, but on their own and in a program of 400 athletes. You can't, that doesn't work. And you need to bring all of those amazing coaches into one place. And we pay our coaches very well to coach this, and we make sure that this is as affordable as possible for the organizations to bring us in. And we have the best 30 coaches I can possibly think of.
That's awesome. I love it. You mentioned earlier that you have to sell the impact to the athletes in order for this to work. Can you share with us an incredible, impactful story of an athlete that you've worked with and been able to see a change in?
Well, yeah, every time I meet with a team, we bring it into a new program, they get to meet me because there's a passion behind this. And I want them to feel that this is here for you because this is what I wish I had. And you may or may not use it, but it is always there for you. That's something I never got to hear. And so we're making this very specific thing, sports psychology coaching for athletes, available to all of the athletes. So yes, we have to bring it into the programs, and the decision makers have to bring us in. That is number one. That is the fun part, but the part that you build towards. Then you get to meet the coaches. You say, Coach, we are here to support you. We are here to curate whatever we put together. We are going to show you right now. And if there's any improvements that we can make that fit your personality, that is what we are here to do right now. This curriculum that is built, that we built, is now bespoke in nature so that we can bring the pillars that coach teaches into our classroom. Mm-hmm. What we've experienced, and I always thought it would come from like the college kids. And we have done stuff at the youth level, and we do it with like 8-year-olds and their parents. Never 8-year-olds by themselves. They can't pay attention to that one. But 8-year-olds and their parents, well, who's going to listen? The parents. 14-year-olds and their parents. 12-year-olds and their parents. There's value in that. We're introducing that conversation. I'm very thankful for that. The biggest impact that I've had, that I've seen from Mindready, is the captain of FC Tucson when they were still professional. His name's Kalen Fox. And they were not a good team coming into us. I think they were 0-10. I bring Mindready in. Dr. Moraes, who's our head of innovation, like put together this amazing curriculum with Dr. Rachel Hoft and Dr. Aaron Smith. And I didn't know what to expect. I was like, hey, we got this curriculum. We want to give it to your team. We're going to give it to you guys absolutely free. We just want some buy-in. Just make it mandatory. We'll see what happens. I bet you your team will improve. And then they won 10 games in a row to end the season. And Kalen goes, this made a tremendous impact in what we were able to do. And so the entire team, our team, my co-founder Pepe, Dr. Moraes, like the whole coaching staff, like I sat them down one day and I was like, this is what we thought was going to happen. And it completely blew us out of the water. So, that's going to happen time and time again. And you just have to prepare for these opportunities. And Kalen Fox is a captain of a professional soccer team. Might say this is a tremendous help to us. And I'm incredibly grateful that we brought this in. So we're hoping for more.
That's awesome. Sounds like a good moment of bliss for you guys.
It was a lot of hard work, and you go through the canyons, and you're like, wow, when am I ever going to get out of this? And then you think back and you go, well, we did that, and we did it with BIMA, and we did it with other organizations, and we're just very happy that we get to continue to do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Before we wrap up here, I'd love to ask you, for anyone that's listening, so you're in charge of this organization, right? You're teaching people how to be mentally fit every single day. How do you stay mentally fit? What's a tool that you use?
I don't teach. I want to be squared away on that. We have amazing experts and coaches. I can only share my experience and what I'm going through, and hopefully that helps somebody else who's listening. I'm teaching a course at Ignite 520 in the next couple of weeks. Jeremy, come teach a course. Come teach on leadership. We know you do Mindready stuff. And I'm like, first of all, sure, that sounds like fun. I need practice public speaking, so yes. And I get a free lunch, thanks. But my caveat, I wrote the whole presentation in like an hour, and I'm like, look, I'm a former athlete who I worked in insurance, I built nonprofits in this thing. I've seen the gamut of how good leaders create teams and how bad leaders ruin teams. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about my experience, and hopefully you can apply some of these experiences into your current environment. And which made me think about like the value of like that experience can have. And I really welcome like anybody's experience. It's different than mine, and that experience can help me in what I'm doing. I think there's value and perspective in that. What am I doing for my mental fitness? I turn the phone off. I don't have social media on my phone. I don't have notifications. My phone is only for Maps and Spotify. I am on the clock from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then I'm done. I do not linger. I do not go on email at 7 p.m. to check in. I'm done. Creating a framework has allowed me to really spend the time focusing on what matters and getting it done, and knowing that I have the time to rest my body and rest my mind. I work at a co-working space. I leave my laptop and everything in here. The only way to do work is to get out of the house and come to the office and do the work that I need to do. And I come here and I'm here from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then I go home. And I learned that, and this is going to sound crazy, but Eminem, famed rapper Marshall Mathers, the Slim Shady, he is famous for like everything that he creates, he does it between 8 and 5 p.m. And at 5 p.m., he puts his headphones up and he goes home. And it really was like, I used to work 24 hours a day. I used to stare at Slack, and I used to stare at my email. I used to clean everything up, and it stressed me out. And once I realized that I don't need to do that, I created barriers for myself to find a break. And that's been helpful. Hobbies is certainly helpful. We teach meditation. I'm currently meditating more, but more thoughtfully, just giving myself 30 minutes in the morning, just of nothingness, just nothing. And just sitting, not even the breathing, not even no guided meditations, none of that crap, just sitting. And it's been helpful. And it allows me to slow down because I can go pretty fast sometimes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely resonate with a lot of that for sure. Nick, anything you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, just that in the wilderness medicine world, there is a phrase going around, well, has been around for a long time. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So exactly what you just described, that actually sets you up for success long term. No, I got nothing. Kristen, I think you should take us home.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I know there was a couple things you wanted to mention about Mindready, but how do people find you? What's going on in the company right now that you're excited about that you want to share with listeners?
Yeah, they can find us online, mindready.co, Instagram and Twitter, mindready_US. We have a newsletter. We post something every Friday in the newsletter. It's designed for parents and coaches, athletes, to learn something that day. How can I apply that in my day to day? And that can be found on our website as well. Within the company, it's creating opportunities. I said it 10 West last year, like we're creating at bats. How can we create more opportunities? And so for us, if there's anybody with a sport organization or a team, we want to teach our curriculum. We'd love to spend an hour with you and teach our positive self-talk session with you guys. And for us, that's a way to introduce ourselves, and we'd love to teach it. If it's one person, if it's 50 people, we love talking about this. And so would love to have the opportunity to provide this as a resource to anybody who can benefit. We also have like a journal people have access to now. We're creating a workbook for athletes too that will be on our shop soon. So a lot of really fun things, and it leads to success for us. Success is just being able to wake up every day and do this is success. And we're just going day by day and supporting athletes. We rate that success by how many athletes we work with. And that gross athlete volume, I know it's at 752 total athletes have come through Mindready in a coaching capacity, in a team capacity, in a social media capacity, whatever it might be, has interacted, has benefited. We see interacting as benefiting. And so we're on the road to 1 million, and that's our goal.
That's incredible. And you had mentioned that you've got a special offer or something, promotion right now going on, right?
For any of those sport organizations, yes. Like we want to offer Mindready for free for the next 5 organizations. That's unlimited coaching. That's our team workshop. We have the ability to do that, and for the next 5 organizations, we want to provide that. And we value what we have, and so we want you to try it, and you'll benefit, and we'll continue to work together.
That's awesome. Jeremy, thanks again so much for joining us. Loved hearing your story. Thank you for sharing all the great work that you're doing at Mindready and the impact that you're having in the lives of athletes and their families. And appreciate you sharing some of the boundaries that you've set and the tips and tricks that you use every single day to find success in running a business. It's incredible. And we are just cheering you on, which is great. So thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Work hard and good things happen. And this is a great thing. So thank you guys.
That's awesome. Great. Well, be sure to follow myself, Kristen Marvin, and Nick Spinelli on LinkedIn. You can also subscribe to the Solutions by Kristen newsletter, which I publish weekly on LinkedIn and at KristenMarvin.com. Please leave us any comments, questions, feedback, or let us know if you'd be interested in being a guest on the show.
Thank you again, Jeremy. First guest. So exciting.
Yeah.
We look forward to welcoming you all back next week. That's right. We're weekly now on the No Hesitations podcast. We'll see you then.